Waffle House criminals are built different. I am aware of the Waffle House. I don't know anything about the Waffle House. The House of the Waffles. The Waffling House. Sure, we've done plenty of dumb Australian videos. We can do a dumb American video. Why not? That'd be a change of pace, that's for sure. So, Waffle House criminals are built different. Let us see.
Waffle House has been described by some as
Wait, who was it? Was it the Tekken director who made a post about Waffle House? It was Waffle House, yeah? Tekken Waffle House. Yeah. This is. Yeah, this is the post I'm thinking of. This is from like 2 months ago. I finally made it to Waffle House. The staff are always friendly. And when I asked if they would sell me a menu, they sold me one for $5. Next time we'll be back at 3 a.m. for fight time. Yeah, this is just May this year. Food name. Honey, spelt with no E. Cross that out. Honey. Prep date and time. Honey. Anyway.
the Roman Colosseum of the South. It's known for its customer brawls.
Why does he sound like Wang?
Scuffles and viral employees who whoop ass when drunken patrons get out of line. And given the Waffle House's unhinged reputation, can you expect anything less than absolute insanity from the criminals who intentionally target a madhouse like this? Like, you're gonna try to get one over on these guys.
Oh my god! Oh, that was sick! What a legend!
We'll be discussing
Wait, no, we're gonna see that again. You've trained for that. Holy shit.
Today we'll be discussing some of Waffle House's most notorious criminals. And shall we begin with the rooftop tweaker burglary attempt?
A man falls through the ceiling tiles of Waffle House Sunday morning in Tuscumbia.
What? What?
The Waffle House roof tweaker. It was a Sunday morning, November 4th, 2018 in Tuscumbia, Alabama. Waffle House workers were in the middle of church rush, but this was no ordinary church rush. As employees were about to experience a blessing from above. A strange...
Like, there's gotta be... Is Waffle House actually good, or is this just Americans being fat? Like... What do you mean a church rush? Are there not, like, small local restaurants you could go to? Is it good? Okay, if it's good, it's good.
Bumping and rustling could be heard. A sound that catches the attention of customers.
I'm getting two very different answers.
Everyone inside, intrigued by the racket, looks up in unison at the dirty...
Like, I get there being a bunch of customers coming after church. That makes sense, but, like... Here we get people going to, like, small local restaurants, right?
Fiberglass tiles.
The Americans are disagreeing. They do that a lot.
The bumping and rustling just continues. It soon becomes apparent that someone or something is inside the Waffle House ceiling, and moments later, this entity would make itself known.
Holy fucking shit!
The pantsless man who just fell through the ceiling here, well, that's 27-year-old Wesley Glenn Boast. Boast was a known criminal with a rap sheet of charges, including...
Waffle House is open 24/7. There's a reputation for always being there for you, not for quality. Okay, I see.
Burglary, criminal impersonation, and felony property theft. Not necessarily the type of guy you'd want hiding in the walls and ceiling of your restaurant.
Was he living up there?
Why exactly was Boast holed up in the Waffle House ceiling anyways? What was the end goal here? And what was the result of the ensuing manhunt after he was discovered?
Holy fucking shit!
Wait, what?
According to reports, Wesley had entered the Waffle House just minutes prior to the ceiling collapsing in.
Okay.
The man described by witnesses as, quote, looking like he was on something. Surveillance video allegedly showed Wesley immediately went to the bathroom and locked himself inside.
Sure.
Reports say this is when Wesley removes his blue jeans and then ties them onto the door handle in a way to further deter anyone from getting in. The restaurant was so busy at the time that nobody really noticed anything out of the ordinary. You know, just some guy going.
Yeah, some guy going to the bathroom at a Waffle House. Like, that seems relatively normal. Considering American food, you might be in there for a while. I get it.
Into the bathroom. What they didn't realize, though, is that a now pantsless and presumably high Wesley is tweaking out in the bathroom, climbing up.
Tweaker going to a bathroom. That also makes sense. I could see that.
On top of the sink in an attempt to slide himself up into the ceiling tiles. God bless Waffle House on a Sunday morning, am I right? While it took him literally destroying the heavy-duty toilet and sink to get up there, Wesley did manage to slither his wily ass up into the ceiling. The half-naked man could now freely crawl around the upper regions of the restaurant in stealth, moving like a rabid rat through the Waffle House's, so to speak, attic. Now, the question at hand is, what the hell is this rat hungry for? Well, given his criminal history, you have to imagine he was thinking about hiding up there for a bit and maybe coming down when employees weren't around and burglarizing the place.
The
only problem
24-hour
with this
joint
strategy is that Waffle House is generally a 24/7 establishment. The place never closes. You know, there's always a man at the helm, so robbery plan foiled, right? If that's what Wesley was trying to do, it's possible this thought may have crossed his mind as he was cooped up like a maniac in the disgusting fiberglass tile recesses of the Waffle House ceiling. But he'd have little time to ruminate on his mistake. Ladies and gentlemen of Waffle House, take cover because it's raining tweakers.
We had the same experience.
Wesley tumbles out and the tweaker is fighting for his life to get out of the place. The violent ceiling dweller finally battles his way out of the ransacked Waffle House as employees put in calls to 911. Once outside, Wesley is allegedly seen entering a vehicle occupied by some sort of associate of his, a person
There's two of them?
that had been waiting outside this entire time, which in my mind suggests that this was some sort of botched heist and the associate's role was getaway driver or lookout. They quickly sped off away from Waffle House, but Tuscumbia police were hot on their trail. A short high-speed chase ensues, ending with police catching up to the vehicle and both Wesley and his accomplice ditching it and running away on foot. Believe it or not, they actually managed to get away and were last seen running into a wooded area north of Avalon Park in Sheffield, Alabama. Yeah, Wesley had 5 stars on him and still got away. Police were totally screwed at this point, as not only did the guy get away, they didn't even know who he was. The latter predicament, however, wouldn't last long.
Let me guess, he left his ID in his pants.
Upon revisiting the ransacked Waffle House, police found the pair of blue jeans Wesley had tied around the bathroom door handle and, well, his
What a fucking idiot! Actual fucking moron. What do you mean you left your wallet? Why did you have your wallet? Oh, yeah, you're gonna ask for my ID when I'm robbing the store?
Wallet and ID was in that pair of pants, which identified the suspect as our boy Wesley Glenn Boast. After learning of his identity, police said they would be obtaining an arrest warrant for Wesley on charges of burglary and first-degree criminal mischief for the thousands of dollars of damages that he had caused at the Waffle House. Some officers described what he had done as the most bizarre crime that they'd seen in their careers.
It's not too often you see police dumbfounded.
I've been doing this almost 11 years. And
what do you mean?
Probably the weirdest thing I've seen.
His true motive was still unclear, but police suspected Wesley had gone into the ceiling in an effort to covertly shimmy his way into the manager's office of the Waffle House, and then, you know, perhaps come down and steal money from there. Which is really stupid because I'm pretty sure any money that would be in the manager's office is going to be locked in a secure safe.
Yeah.
There's no publicly available information that I can find suggesting that Boast was ever found or prosecuted in relation to his alleged crimes at Waffle House. But just because there's nothing about this online doesn't mean he wasn't. In fact, I personally find it quite unlikely that he got away with this scot-free. He probably got some sort of plea agreement that's just not on the record.
Sure.
But in the grand scheme of things, I really don't
All
think
played
much of that
insanity.
matters
He's just-
because it appears this dude is now dead. Take a look at this. Folks online claim that this Wesley Glenn boast featured in an obituary from 2023 is the same Wesley Glenn boast that fell through the ceiling at Waffle House. And if you're asking my personal opinion, yeah, that's the same guy.
It looks like
Rest
yeah,
in peace
looks
to
pretty
a
similar.
goat, if it really is. Whatever the case, criminal tweakers in your diner ceiling is most definitely a Waffle House exclusive. Hope you like your hash browns with extra fiberglass. The Waffle House meth monster.
They've got a pretty good idea now about what happened here at this Waffle House. Took a while, but they're still trying to figure out the why.
At one point, he was critical. At one point, he was on a life support system, basically. He was being fed through a feeding tube and was in a comatose state.
Restaurant employees contaminating food items for malicious reasons is something we've discussed plenty here on the channel. But
Burger
at
King
Waffle
foot
House,
lettuce.
workers have taken this to truly horrific lengths, going as far as almost killing people and spending decades in prison over it. In Dawson County, Georgia, on December 23rd, 2015, 43-year-old Sansere Dawn Evans was waitressing at the Waffle House on Highway 53 with her co-worker, 37-year-old Brian Michael.
Shut the no, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not 37. What do you mean he's 37? Fucking 47, maybe. That's a rough 37, man. Fuck. That's a really rough 37. Is he the meth monster?
It was late into the night shift and things were pretty quiet around the restaurant. But everything changes right around night shift and things were pretty quiet around the restaurant. But everything changes right around
Must be an
midnight.
ex-Waffle House
While
fire.
working, Brian suddenly collapses to the floor and becomes unresponsive.
Okay.
Shocked restaurant patrons call 911, with most believing the man had suffered some sort of medical episode. Perhaps he had had a heart attack, they thought. Soon, an ambulance shows up and takes Brian to the hospital. The cause of his ailment was somewhat confounding to doctors on arrival, and his condition was rapidly worsening. To keep him from dying, Brian had to be put into a medically induced coma and was ventilated. He would go on to spend close to 40 days in this state and barely survive the ordeal with lasting physical difficulties.
Right.
So the guy lived, but what caused such a serious medical episode that he had to be knocked out for over a month to survive? Well, doctors said it was a meth overdose, which was something of a surprise to Brian and his family because Brian was no drug user and his family would attest to this. When doctors informed the family that Brian's condition was related to a meth overdose, they submitted a criminal complaint to the local police with the suspicion that someone at Waffle House may have perhaps poisoned him. Police took this suggestion quite seriously and opened a formal inquiry into the alleged
Would they have taken it seriously anywhere else? That's the question.
near lethal meth poisoning at Waffle House.
Oh, wait, it's that guy. Wait, okay, this guy, if you don't know who this guy is, he was in court. I think he was in court for driving without a license, and he like zoomed into court whilst driving without a license, and the judge was like, are you driving right now? And just immediately ended the case.
Into the alleged near-lethal meth poisoning at Waffle House. One might suspect it possible that perhaps Brian could have gotten into it with one of Waffle House's notoriously rowdy customers, and maybe a pissed-off patron could have somehow exposed the man to the meth drug in
Oh, he actually did have a license? Okay, maybe I missed that part of the story then.
an effort to harm him. Customers were certainly being examined as potential suspects, but that didn't last long. In their investigation, authorities worked closely with Waffle House corporate office. Detectives would get their hands on the restaurant's security surveillance recordings from the night of the incident. And what they saw in the short time leading up to Brian's medical episode was unsettling to put it lightly. In video recordings from that evening, Brian is seen stepping outside of the restaurant briefly for a small break.
Sure.
And while he is outside, waitress Sansere Dawn Evans is allegedly seen picking up a cup that Brian had been drinking from and taking it into the restaurant bathroom. She's in the bathroom with this cup for a short period, then comes back out and is seen placing the cup exactly where it was left by Brian. Brian then comes back in and returns to work and can be seen drinking from this cup, seemingly unaware that it had been touched by Sansere. And within the hour, that's when the medical episode begins. The picture was clear. Sansere had likely poisoned her fellow Waffle House co-worker by way of lacing his beverage with drugs. Sansere Dawn Evans was no...
She doesn't look like a meth user. Like, maybe she's just started using meth? Like, she looks a bit too... Unless this is just an older picture, she looks too put together to be a meth user herself.
No saint, after all. The woman had a history with law enforcement and meth.
Okay, former meth user. I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Previously, she had been arrested and pled guilty to 1 count of methamphetamine
possession. Possible dealer?
Possession, and was sentenced to probation and fines. So, considering the video footage and her history, it's likely she had poisoned her co-worker's drink with her drug of choice, meth. The investigation into the apparent malicious meth poisoning would continue for nearly 2 months. And throughout all of this time, Sansere was refusing to cooperate with police.
Is this like a Mother Mary situation? Was Brian just a meth boy?
But given the surveillance video and all of that, there was no doubt about it, she was the prime suspect. And on February 12th,
okay, that was an older picture. Okay, now... That is much more like what I would expect. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, no, this is definitely a meth user. Okay, yeah.
2016, Evans was arrested on charges of felony illegal drug possession and aggravated battery.
Deputies just arrested Sansaria Evans.
Not attempted
Investigators
murder?
say she spiked her Waffle House co-worker Brian Michaels' drink with a nearly deadly dose of methamphetamines while the two were on the clock.
At one point, he was critical. At one point, he was on a life support system, basically. He was being fed to a feeding tube and was in a comatose state. So it was obviously...
Do you think American Southerners have what it takes to survive Australia nonsense? Australia's pretty chill. You just got the animals trying to kill you. Our meth heads are pretty chill. They don't do anything to you. They just ask you for, like, cigarettes.
At one point, he was clinging to life.
Fully terminated now from Waffle House and facing decades in prison, the woman still seemingly refused to elaborate as to why she had laced Brian's drink with meth. This element of the story remains one of the mysteries even close to a decade after the fact pertaining to this matter. The family of Brian speculated the best they could to the press around this time as to why Sansere would do this, saying she may have poisoned him because, quote, it was because Brian had refused to date her or did not want to work with her, unquote. Implying that the woman poisoned Brian for nothing more than a petty workplace drama. And if that really was the case, I mean, Sansere nearly killing this man over something that small, it makes her seem like a complete monster unfit for society. I mean, this woman had seemingly ruined Brian's life. Keep in mind that as she's being dragged to jail on charges, he's still recovering in the hospital at this point of the story. As Miss Evans was being arrested, Brian was still laid up in the Northside Hospital in Cummins, Georgia. He was unable to walk and could barely speak. His mother, Pam Pavesi, would speak to news outlets saying, quote, "It's the most horrible thing that a mama can go through. I've seen him lay there not knowing if he was going to live. Thankfully, though, it seemed like he was making some progress."
That's good.
Another quote. "It seemed like God laid a healing hand on him.
Okay,
and
very
once God
Southerner.
laid a healing hand on him, something happened every single day. He's saying sentences. He's trying to get out of the bed. And he's trying to sit up on his own. He's trying," unquote. So it was somewhat reassuring to see that Brian wasn't going to be permanently bedridden from this near-fatal meth poisoning his psycho co-worker inflicted upon him. The frustrating absence of an obvious motive would remain a pervasive annoyance throughout the prosecution of the Waffle House meth poisoner Sansere Dawn Evans. But there was no doubt regarding her guilt in this matter.
Sure.
Sansere would eventually cop to poisoning Brian's drink with meth and pled guilty to aggravated battery, distribution of methamphetamine, and illegal possession of a controlled substance. As a result of her senseless act of poisoning over what seemed to be nothing more than petty workplace friction, Sansere Dawn Evans was sentenced to serve—
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. Righto. How would you say she was? 43? Not 63?
no less than 20 years in a Georgia state prison. And that's where she remains to this day. The earliest the woman can be released is in 2036. The former Waffle House employee would be 63 years old if released.
Are you sure that's not how old she is now?
At that time. As for Brian Michaels, the victim in this case, his family would later sue the franchisee that operated the Waffle House that both he and Sansere worked at. The matter of the suit was over negligent hiring practices. You know, your restaurant hired a crazy methed up tweaker with a criminal history, and they
I doubt
went
that
on
was
to
gonna go
fucking
anywhere.
poison Brian with the same illegal substance that they were previously tried for. From what I can tell by reading online summaries pertaining to the civil case, Brian and his family prevailed in these legal efforts and managed to win an undisclosed settlement with the franchisee, hopefully providing them with some sort of financial recourse that could help in Brian's recovery. I'm uncertain of his status in current times. But whatever the case, I honestly struggle to think of an employee-on-employee battery case as insidious, disturbing, and seemingly unnecessary as this one was. Poisoning your coworker with meth for ostensibly no reason at all and getting 20 plus years of time for it, I mean, of course something like this would transpire at a Waffle House. Where else would it happen? Yeah, we've discussed some truly unfortunate happenings thus far, but I want you at home to know that there's always something you can do if somebody does you dirty. Imagine this. It's a hard
Let me
day
guess. Morgan and Morgan.
Work, you get some fast food for lunch, take a bite into
Morgan
the burger,
Morgan.
and,
Couldn't be anyone
well,
else.
You just bit into a sharp object and you're bleeding. That's not good. You could just ignore it and finish your shift, or you could do something about the personal injury case you just stumbled into. There's a reason lunch breaks shouldn't end in the emergency room, just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm.
The only fucking law firm that advertises on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Track record of fighting personal injury cases. The guys have recovered $30 billion for their clients. Many of you have probably had a situation like this guy where you've been injured but thought it was too small to win money from. That's a crazy
ad that they
getting
authorize.
a lawyer would be tedious. If this sounds like you, it may be worth reaching out to Morgan & Morgan to learn about your options. Submitting your case takes just a few minutes and you can get someone who will fight for you tooth and nail. After all,
what if the goal was to get him in trouble for being high on the job? You know what? Actually very possible. And maybe she gave him enough meth based on her tolerance level.
This guy to make things right financially is like trusting my dog Hank next to a plate of burger patties unattended. They're just gonna take advantage of the situation.
He's doing pretty well.
So if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. To see if you have a case, you can go to forthepeople.com/wavywebsurf. The Waffle House mass shooter. Aside from workers being poisoned, botched burglaries, and constant brawls, Waffle House has unfortunately been the subject of its very own lone wolf psycho-style mass shooter incident. One that, as a matter of fact, took place about 20 minutes from where I live here in Nashville. This is the twisted story of Travis Reinking, the Waffle House shooter, and how a brave Nashvillian and Waffle House customer stopped his deadly assault.
Nashvillian, is that what you guys call yourselves?
And became a hero in the process.
Shattered glass, bullets, belongings of those who either died in the shooting or left them behind in the frenzy.
Let's meet the disturbed, Taylor Swift-obsessed criminal involved in this case.
I come back to the apartment here, and then that's the thing is these people just magically show up, you know, and it's an art of deception, you know. They're doing this for some reason.
29-year-old Travis Reinking, a construction worker from—
He looks like, what the fuck's going on here? He looks well enough put together. Construction worker, relatively attractive guy. What the fuck? What happened here?
Morton, Illinois, had been battling mental illness for
Okay.
most of his life. He suffered from severe schizophrenia,
I see.
paranoia, and delusions. In addition, Travis was also known to have a strange obsession with pop singer Taylor Swift. Through these delusions, he switched back and forth to being convinced her and him were meant to be and that they were going to get married, while also claiming that the pop singer was after him and was hacking his phone. There would be incident reports made back in 2016 where Travis claimed that Taylor Swift had hacked his Netflix account and had told him to meet with her at Dairy Queen. Many such cases.
What? Wait, hacked Netflix? What? What? What do you mean hacked Netflix? That doesn't even make any sense.
He even claimed that he saw her at the Dairy Queen, but she ran off and disappeared. He even got in criminal trouble once for seemingly dressing like a combat-ready version of Taylor. On June 16, 2017, an employee of his father's business, J&J Cranes, had alerted the
Oh, I see why he's a construction worker. I understand now. I totally understand why he works in construction. Listen to that one again.
Dressing like a combat-ready version of Taylor. On June 16, 2017, an employee of his father's business, J&J Cranes, had alerted the...
His father owns the construction business.
The Tazewell County Sheriff's Office that he had observed Travis coming down from his apartment wearing a pink dress and holding a rifle. In the incident report, it stated that Ryan King yelled, quote, "Is this what you fucking want?" unquote. On the same day, another police department had also reported to a call from a public...
Yes, but I can't imagine he is a This guy is clearly mentally unstable. And I can't imagine he was doing any of, like, the lower tier jobs. He looks like he's a bit too well put. Like, you know, you if you know someone who works in construction, right? Like, you know they have, like... there is a certain level of... how, like... skin damage, like, especially skin damage, especially if you're working outside, that you're just naturally going to have working in construction.
Pool. There was a man that...
Gruftitude. Sure, we'll go with that. Gruftitude.
That had barged into the pool area wearing a pink woman's house coat. He purportedly proceeded to dive into the pool and take off his coat, shouting to the lifeguards that he was, quote, a man, unquote, and then exposed his genitals to them. Okay. No arrest would be made, and you guessed it, that was Travis. Not sure if that last one was really Taylor related, but regardless, the guy was out of his mind.
Clearly.
As a result of these and subsequent incidents with law enforcement, Travis would be visited by police who intended to confiscate a collection of guns that he had. And police almost got these guns. However, Jeffrey Ryan King, Travis's dad,
oh my fucking God,
struck a deal with the cops, saying he'd watch over the guns and keep them from Travis. Police reluctantly agreed to do so, and this decision would turn out to be a costly mistake.
That's so fucking stupid. I imagine this is probably like a small town thing. I don't know. I don't know where he said this was, where he said this was, but he probably owns the biggest business in the town. He knows the police officers, all this stuff.
As Jeff later returned the guns to his son, this note will become important shortly. Let's fast forward a bit into the fall of 2017.
Only business in some cases, yeah.
Travis Ryan King would move from Illinois to Nashville, Tennessee, and sought out employment as a crane operator and construction worker.
He was okay, yeah, that point proven about the job. So he was a crane operator at his father's job. Now, obviously, going to another business, it wasn't the nepotism thing, but he already had experience as a crane operator, so getting another job as a crane operator is much easier.
Things went...
And they don't know he's literally schizophrenic.
...smoothly in Nashville for a bit, but as months passed, his mental health began to rapidly deteriorate. In Nashville, Travis became increasingly paranoid, and his schizophrenia symptoms were apparently not being managed at all. In addition to thinking Taylor Swift was after him, Travis also believed the government was spying on him.
They should have been.
And out to harm him. The guy effectively thought he was being gang stalked. At rock bottom of his mental state, Travis had stopped showing up to work and spent his days in complete isolation and delusion.
Yeah.
Court transcripts describe Travis at this time as believing God had commanded him to kill government agents. And that brings
Do we play the Terry Davis clip?
us to a bizarre criminal outbreak from this man that shattered the Antioch, Tennessee community. On April 17, 2018, Travis would steal a 2018 BMW X6 sedan from the Mallory Lane BMW dealership in Brentwood, Tennessee, after posing as a customer. Metro Police later tracked the stolen vehicle to Travis.
So he test drove a car and then just left.
His apartment complex, but it was unoccupied at the time. The detectives were at this point processing the vehicle for fingerprints, trying to figure out who had taken it. In all reality, they were just a couple of days away from having solid proof that the guy was a car thief and would be able to arrest him. But that's not the timeline we're living in. Travis Reinking was never arrested for the car theft, as before he could be, he went on to commit something far more reprehensible. In the early hours of April 22nd, 2018, Travis Reinking, his mind riddled with paranoia, made the decision to perpetrate an act that would go beyond redemption. He armed himself with an AR-15 style rifle, one of the rifles that had been taken from him and given back by his father. He was wearing nothing but a loose-fitting green jacket and descended upon the Waffle House in Antioch, arriving in what has been described as a
Oh, when you said only wearing a loose-fitting green jacket, he also had his cock out. Okay, right. Right.
Pickup truck. He got out at 3:23 a.m. and made his way into the...
For as bad as this is, it was 3:23 a.m. It could have been considerably worse. Like, if this was done around, like, 10 a.m., midday, dinner, anything like that, this could have been so much worse. Like, yes, there are obviously people here, but 3 a.m., sure, it's time for the crazies to come out, but it's not going to be their busiest time of day.
Parking lot, where he opened fire, fatally shooting 2 customers outside the restaurant, and then he entered the Waffle House and continued his assault. Travis shot and killed another victim and fatally injured a 4th, including a 29-year-old AT&T technician and Nashville, Tennessee native James Shaw Jr., who had suffered a grazing injury from one of the bullets as he was hiding behind a door. But it was James Shaw Jr. that would step up in a great moment of peril. That guy decided that in this moment, he wasn't going to be a victim, and he would flip this seemingly unwinnable predicament on its head. As Travis halted his gunfire briefly to reload, Shaw saw his opportunity and rushed the shooter, slamming the sturdy Waffle House door into him and wrestling the rifle away from Reinking. In the scuffle, Travis lost his green jacket and was left completely naked as the two fought outside the restaurant. Shaw's hand was blistered and burnt from grabbing the gun. Travis was able to squirm away from Shaw's grip, and now unarmed and unclothed, he fled the scene. In total, there were 4 fatalities: 23-year-old Aquila Da Silva, 21-year-old DeEbony Groves, 29-year-old Torian Sanderlin, and 20-year-old Joe Perez. Travis would go on the run and was later captured 34 hours after the shooting on April 23, 2018, after a tip from a caller came in who had spotted him entering a wooded area within the vicinity of the Waffle House. The Waffle House gunman had finally been busted. James Shaw Jr. was hailed as a hero for his efforts in saving lives on this day, and was later given a standing ovation by Tennessee lawmakers. As if he hadn't already done it, was later given a standing ovation by Tennessee lawmakers. As if he hadn't already done enough, Travis Shaw went on to selflessly raise $227,000 for the other shooting victims in a GoFundMe. Tennessee State University, Shaw's alma mater, would also set up a scholarship scholarship in his name, and the man is now a local legend. But what would be the fate of this now infamous villain? After his arrest, Travis Reinking would be charged with 4 counts of criminal homicide, though he was found incompetent to stand trial initially. Later on, though, in October of 2018, that ruling was reversed. Reinking would plead not guilty by reason of insanity.
Yeah, you should go in the box, though. You're clearly not fit to be in society.
On February 4th, 2022, he was found guilty on all counts and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. It still remains somewhat unclear as to why Travis targeted a Waffle House full of innocent people. It seems to be that this was a crime of opportunity, with Travis being completely delusional, full of rage, and wanting to take out those he thought were surveilling him. Waffle House is open 24-
like, he probably saw someone he thought looked like a cop, and then was like, okay, everyone here is a cop, they all must die.
24/7, and at that time when he wanted to commit the violence at 3 a.m., well, it just so happened to be full of people at that time when he was mad. It's not the most
probably because the only thing open at 3 a.m. McDonald's? Would they not also be open? This video is long, isn't it? It is 31 minutes long.
concrete explanation, I know, but the motives are never really all that put together for people like Travis. The families of the victims would also file civil actions on not just Travis, but Travis's father, Jeffrey. And they would be awarded $212 million. Travis's father, Jeffrey, would be criminally charged with unlawful delivery of a firearm due to him returning the weapons to his son. Jeffrey's defense would argue that he had no notion of his son's mental illness.
Shut the fuck up. No, he was living with his son at the time. In like the first part of him going insane. He was living with his son when the guns were going to be taken away.
Would later plead guilty in May of 2022 and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. After finishing his sentence, Jeffrey would attempt to appeal in 2024, but that motion was denied. The Kid Rock Waffle House brawl.
They just keep rewarding me for what seems like bad behavior.
If we're being honest, perhaps second to Jelly Roll, I could think of no other celebrity more likely to have been arrested at a Waffle House than Kid Rock. And that's exactly what happened almost 20 years ago in 2007.
Okay, this should be more fun then.
Around 5 a.m. at a Waffle House in DeKalb County.
I'm happy to watch longer ones. It's just if we do, we can't watch anything else really. We can maybe like one other thing.
Georgia. Kid Rock had just left Atlanta after performing at the Tabernacle and stopped at the cafe with his entourage. Everyone including...
Sorry, what was the...
Performing at the Tabernacle.
Fucking Americans, man. Fucking Americans. Everything. Everything. The Tabernacle is a Christian symbology thing. Fucking Americans.
And stopped at the cafe with his entourage. Everyone, including Kid Rock, was plastered drunk. Some in his group that morning included his personal assistant, James Murphy, executive assistant, Brian Lund, and his guitarist, Jason Krause. The celebrity Waffle House visit was great initially, with everyone in good spirits after the show. And, you know, their buzz from hitting the bars. Kid Rock, the man of the hour, acted as a magnanimous benefactor while him and his crew dined and supposedly tipped each worker $300 each. Kid Rock was buying everybody inside the place breakfast too. But then someone talks to a girl that they weren't supposed to. A male customer named Harlan Atkins, who is sitting at a nearby booth.
Does what? No, they don't sell alcohol, but he got plastered before he got there. He probably got plastered directly after his show.
Reportedly began rizzing up one of the females in Kid Rock's crew. The advances purportedly were unwanted. Kid Rock later claimed that he tried to peacefully ask the guy to stop harrying the girl. But the guy took it as the celebrity trying to big league him and got pissed off. This turned into a confrontation of sorts and would spawn a now infamous Waffle House brawl. Surveillance footage shows Kid Rock and 5 of his entourage approach the customer as the guy gets up.
This guy is a fucking moron though. Like, what are you doing starting a fight with 5 people? Now, they shouldn't have like continued the fight. It's 5 people. But, like, you have to be really fucking stupid to start a fight with 5 drunk guys. Like, what is going through your head? You're like, yeah, I'm not gonna... Just, like, take the loss, step back, accept that it, like... You're like, yeah, okay, sorry. Even if you think you're in the right. 5 drunk guys. Like, what are you doing?
Is quickly shoved back down, prompting a physical altercation. Kid Rock can be seen hurling himself over and attacking the pissed off patron as the fight sprawls out across the Waffle House. The
employees back here is
fuck. Like a fucking Looney Tunes fight cloud. The fight was reported to have gone from inside of the restaurant to outside of it. And at some point, the customer that they're trying to beat up purportedly like punched out one of the Waffle House's windows in a fit of rage. After the scuffle was broken up, Kid Rock would leave in his tour bus, only to be stopped by a police officer around a mile from the Waffle House. He and 5 of his entourage members would soon be taken into custody on misdemeanor charges of simple battery. Harlan Atkins, the guy who got beat up by Rock and Company, was treated at a hospital for cuts and bruises. He would also be arrested and charged with felony criminal damage to property. Kid Rock would later be released from the county jail on bond at 5 p.m. that day. And news of the bizarre...
Yeah, on bond... It's not... Whatever bond you put on Kid Rock back then, it literally wouldn't matter. He had the money to pay it.
Waffle House brawl spread around like wildfire. It was on brand for Kid Rock and actually somewhat helped his career at the time.
I bet.
The day after this incident, Kid Rock's album that was out at the time, Rock and Roll Jesus, would go #1 on the charts.
Yeah, I bet.
His only album to ever do so. He would go on to further spin
What was it? What was Rock and Roll Jesus? Rock and Roll Jesus. Oh, that had All Summer Long on it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Crime into a positive thing for himself. Later, on March 11th, 2008, he went to a different Waffle House in a similar area in DeKalb County and basically set up a meet and greet where people could pay money to take pictures and get autographs. And that money raised was said to have gone to a local abuse shelter for women. So what about the legal side of things, though? As Kid Rock's legal team went back and forth with prosecutors, it was purported that he had considered actually going to court and fighting the charges, for he felt like he wasn't in the wrong in the situation. But in the end, he decided to take a plea
5 guys jumped 1 guy. I think you're in the wrong.
Deal and pled no contest to 1 charge.
Like, yes, he was disturbing the woman. Yes, she didn't want the advances, but like 5 guys, there is a reasonable level of force to use. And that reasonable level is not jumping with 5 guys and then fleeing the scene. Like that's not reasonable force.
And on July 21st, 2008, Kid Rock was sentenced to a year of probation plus $1,000 in fines.
Oh no, $1,000 in fines for Kid Rock after he just released fucking All Summer Long.
As well as 6 hours of anger management counseling and 80 hours of community service. The entourage would receive similar sentences, though 3 of the 5 charges would be dropped, as it seemed after viewing the videotape of the surveillance, they weren't actually really involved in the fighting. They were just there.
Sure,
but that would not be the end of things, as Kid Rock would have to return to court. This time in a civil suit from Harlan Atkins, who claimed in his lawsuit that Kid Rock and members of his group beat him up and smashed his cell phone for no reason. In this lawsuit, Atkins was seeking $6,000 in medical fees and an unspecified amount in punitive damages. The lawsuit would go to trial, and on September 17th,
40K? Oh, who cares?
Awarded Harlan $40,000 in compensatory damages.
Kid Rock didn't give a shit about that.
$6,000 was granted for medical expenses, and $700
he looks like
was
Snoop,
tacked
white
onto
Snoop.
that
I guess
for
he kind
the
of
market
does.
value of the cell phone. That's right, my friends. Waffle House is indeed a PvP zone that even celebrities find themselves influenced by. Though, if we're being honest, I think Kid Rock would probably pick a fight in a Golden Corral if he had to. I don't think the venue
especially
matters
20
too
years
much
ago
with this guy. And well, you made it to the end of the video. Let me know about your crazy Waffle House experiences down below in the comment section, and let me know who or what you want me to talk about next. I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace.
That's fun. I like that one. Maybe we'll have to come back to this channel at some point. So then. I think that is going to be where we end off the stream for the day. Next week, fuck, we're already at the end of the week. What the fuck happened this week? I lost track of time entirely.